Namaste. This is Vivekananda Study Circle, IIT Madras platform. I am Swami Mahamedhananda from Ramakrishna Math, Chennai. This is our regular Sunday evening class. And the topic for this evening is Swami Vivekananda's call to the nation. I'll begin with our Shanti Mantra. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. It is a very general topic that I have chosen for this evening. It is mainly to present Swamiji's thoughts in his own words. We read Swamiji, but it is always a challenge because there is so much in each idea that as we read it repeatedly, we discover more layers of meaning in it. And also today is Guru Purnima. So I thought it would be very appropriate if we listen to the Guru's own words. We don't have his voice, but we have his words, his thoughts. From 1888 to 1893, Swami Vivekananda traveled across India from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, visiting several cities and villages. He met and interacted with all kinds of people, from the kings to the cobblers. He met the divans, the lawyers, the British government servants, pandits, businessmen, farmers, the common people on the road. He interacted with them. He understood what is their life, what are their thoughts. And through this personal experience of India, he came to the conclusion that India, the land of the rishis, was becoming or had become a land of laziness, selfishness, and jealousy. India was losing faith in herself, in her genius as a race. This was particularly the contribution of the Englishmen. Not just the English, before them the Portuguese, the French. This white man's burden, the superiority complex that the imperialism gave them, and which they either openly or in a hidden manner repeatedly put into our minds that you black people, they considered us all black people. You are inferior to us in civilization and in culture. So this our English educated Indians accepted, and they started spreading this, that everything in India is horrible, bad, including its religion, which is the source of all problems. Now, as Swamiji saw it, the main reasons for this state of degeneration in India were these. There are many, but these are the main he observed. Rank materialism and arrant superstition. These are the words he uses. We claim to be very spiritual and religious, but we are also very materialistic. And superstition. This is among all classes, from the highest class to the lower classes. Second reason, neglect of the masses and the tyranny of the upper classes over them. This is not just the caste, this is the class. The poorest of the poor are oppressed in every society. And in India, that was the very strong case. I quote Swamiji. He says, the one thing that is at the root of all evils in India is the condition of the poor. Priest power and foreign conquest have trodden them down for centuries, and at last the poor of India have forgotten that they are human beings. Again elsewhere he says, I consider that the great national sin is the neglect of the masses, and that is one of the causes of our downfall. No amount of politics would be of any avail until the masses in India are once more well educated, well fed, and well cared for. They pay for our education, they build our temples, but in return, they get kicks. They are practically our slaves. If we want to regenerate India, we must work for them. Unquote. The first one is the materialism and superstition. Second is this tyranny of the upper classes over the poor, the neglected masses. Third is caste oppression. Fourth, marginalization of women. Swamiji asks, I quote him, why is it that our country is the weakest and the most backward of all countries? Because Shakti is held in dishonor. We worship the Divine Mother, but in our society, even now, the woman is looked down as someone inferior to the man. That is so pathetic. With all the history we have, the tradition, cultural and spiritual we have, where it is seen that the woman is equal to man, and according to the Vedantic perspective, there is no difference between man and woman. Essentially, it is the spirit. All that high philosophy, but in practice, there is this looking down, seeing her as inferior. Swamiji says this is the reason, one of the big reasons, main reasons why India has fallen. You have dishonored the Shakti. The fifth reason, Hindus forgetting their past and thus failing to work on their time-tested path of progress. This is one of Swamiji's very uh, favorite topic, where he says each one of us, we have a bent of mind, a natural flow which we have created for ourselves, a channel which we have created for ourselves through so many lives. So there is a natural proclivity for one way of thinking or feeling. Someone is very rational, someone is more into Raja Yoga kind of thing, someone is more into devotional kind of thing, someone is more into very active kind of working, maybe Karma Yoga. These are tendencies we acquire over lifetimes. Similarly, Swamiji says, societies also acquire a tendency because generation of generation, they'll have thought on one line, they would have worked out in one path. And in India, Swamiji says, this path is the path of religion, spirituality. It is not religion now what has, because of these Abrahamic religions and other influences. Religion means you have to believe in such something. If you believe in something, that is religion. But India has originally not accepted that. The Upanishads do not speak about believing in some person. He is the only savior for me. Our God is only so and so. Upanishads don't speak of that. Upanishads say, discover the truth which is inside you. Actually, that is the truth even Jesus speaks. The kingdom of God, heaven, is inside you. Only the interpretations are different. So, because the Hindus have forgotten their own national path, which has come down for centuries, thousands of years, they have lost track. That is one reason Swamiji says. Sixth reason, an appalling lack of power of organization. Because there is no cohesive effort, the power of organization is lost. It is not that we didn't have. We had great empires. Empires cannot be built without the power of organization. We had forgotten Ashoka, one of the great emperors. India had forgotten its own Ashokan empire and the great emperor Ashoka. What to speak of earlier ones? Then, perversion of the nation's life current, religion. Religion had become, in Swamiji's time, even as it is now largely, a set of miracles, mysticism, sentimentalism. Swamiji says all this is weakening. You have lost the source and you have gone in diverse ways, and some of them are perverse. Last, Indian society, had become isolationist, especially with regard to other countries. There was a strange idea in India that you should not cross the ocean. If you cross the ocean, you lose your caste. And the first one to do that, break this barrier in our thinking, was Rajaram Mohan Roy. He went out. And the first sannyasi to go out breaking this barrier was Swami Vivekananda himself. Swamiji says, I quote, one of the great causes of India's misery and downfall has been that she narrowed herself, went into her shell as the oyster does, and refused to give her jewels and her treasures to the other races of mankind, refused to give the life-giving truths to thirsting nations outside the Aryan fold. That has been the one great cause that we did not go out, that we did not compare notes with other nations. Other nations progressed in the industrial revolution and we stayed back where we were. So we lost in both fronts. One, we did not progress materially. And second, because of that stagnation, which brought about stagnation even in thinking, we saw that spiritual treasure which we had, that also became perverse. So what is the remedy? Swamiji mainly gives one line. Whatever else he may speak, say, it's always focused on one line. That is the path of religion. After diagnosing the maladies, his remedy is this: reconstruct India on national lines by revitalizing her religious mores. He was most certain about this, that religion, or the essence of religion, which is spirituality, is the backbone of India, and any remedy has to begin there. Now, the reformers of those times, they would naturally disagree because they held religion is the source of all the problems in India. So they would question why this insistence of religion. Isn't religion responsible for the degradation of India? And they were very eager to adopt the modern thought, science, and say all this religion is superstition, throw it out. To them, Swamiji's reply is this. I quote, I claim that no destruction of religion is necessary to improve the Hindu society, and that this state of society exists not on account of religion, but because religion has not been applied to society as it should have been. The fault is not with religion. The fault is in the wrong application of the truths of religion. I continue. This I am ready to prove from our old books, every word of it. This is what I teach, and this is what we must struggle all our lives to carry out. Again, he says somewhere else, if you succeed in the attempt to throw off your religion, because there was many people there, educated, so-called educated, who said, throw away all these Hindu religious ideas and all. And the English were very happy to accept that because there were missionaries who were just waiting for that and who went on telling us, your religion is all abracadabra. There is no essence in it. To them, Swamiji is warning. If you succeed in the attempt to throw off your religion and take up either politics or society or any other things as your center, as the vitality of your national life, the result will be that you will become extinct. To prevent this, you must make all and everything work through that vitality of your religion. Let all your nerves vibrate through the backbone of your religion. Every man has to make his own choice. So has every nation. We made our choices ages ago, and we must abide by it. And after all, it is not such a bad choice. Is it such a bad choice in this world to think not of matter but of spirit, not of man but of God? That intense faith in another world, that intense hatred for this world, that intense power of renunciation, that intense faith in God, That intense faith in the immortal soul is in you. I challenge anyone to give it up. You cannot. You may try to impose upon me by becoming materialist, by talking materialism for a few months. But I know what you are. If I take you by the hand, back you come as good thieves as ever were born. How can you change your nature? So every improvement in India requires, first of all, an upheaval in religion. Before flooding India with socialistic or political ideas, first deluge the land with spiritual ideas. This was the template, this was the foundation of all his ideas. And when Swamiji speaks of religion, he primarily is referring to the truths encapsulated in the Upanishads. I quote him again. He says, the first work that demands our attention is that the most wonderful truths confined in our Upanishads, in our scriptures, in our Puranas, must be brought out from the books, brought out from the monasteries, brought out from the forests, brought out from the possession of selected bodies of people, and scattered broadcast all over the land, so that these truths may run like fire all over the country from north to south and east to west, from the Himalayas to Comorin, that is Cape Comorin, Kanyakumari, from Sindh to the Brahmaputra. One of the great contributions of this Ramakrishna mission, which Swamiji started, is that the mission was one of the first to publish the scriptures in regional languages. There was opposition, even here in Tamil Nadu. There was an opposition that these Upanishads should not be printed in Tamil. It should be only available in Sanskrit. But Swamiji was very clear. The truths can be expressed. Like Buddha said, I will express the highest truths which I have discovered in the language of the common man, the Pali. Similarly, Swamiji said, now the language, the international language, the language which the whole world will one day speak is English. So I will broadcast this truth in this language, the language called English, which he very successfully did. But he also said it has to be available to the common man in his own mother tongue. And that also was done, not in his time, but later when the mission established. Now we have in almost all the major languages, all the scriptures translated into them. Swamiji says, from every page of the Upanishad, one word jumps out, that is, be fearless. Be fearless. There are religions which are founded on fear. If you do this, then you will go to hell. If you don't accept or if you don't believe this, you are a sinner. You will be damned. So there is a sense of fear always at the back of faith. That is not man-making, according to Swami Vivekananda. He says, one word which comes out from this essence of this, the source of this religion, is be fearless. Hinduism suffered because it drifted away from this source and got caught up in weakening mysticism and irrational social customs. Swamiji scolds. He says, what is your religion now? Your religion is in the kitchen. Should I eat this? Should I not eat this? Can I eat it like this or should I eat it like the other way? Can I touch him or can he see me? Religion had come down to just mere social customs. Even now, we see in India, South India, Central India, North India, there are so many different customs. What we in South think is very bad or it is against religion, you will find it is practiced by everyone in North. Or what they think is very bad, you find somewhere else they have been practiced. So social customs, we made the mistake of thinking that is religion. Swamiji says, no, don't confuse religion with these customs and then blame religion for it. It is your mistake that you don't know what is religion. I quote him. He says, the truths of the Upanishads are before you. Take them up, live up to them, and the salvation of India will be at hand. Every improvement in India requires, first of all, an upheaval in religion. National union in India must be a gathering up of its scattered spiritual forces. This is the theme of Indian life, the burden of our eternal songs, the backbone of our existence, the foundation of our being, the raison d'etre of our very existence, the spiritualization of the human race. This is the main reason. The spiritualization not just of India, but of human race. Swamiji says this is the main reason why India is alive. So many civilizations, contemporary civilizations, they are now erased. We talk about Egyptian civilization. There is nothing left of Egyptian civilization other than those pyramids. Talk about Roman, talk about Greece civilization. This land is able to live because it held on to one thing, its spiritual core. And this was India's contribution to the world, to the whole of mankind. In this, her life course, she has never deviated, whether the Tartar ruled or the Turk, whether the Mughal ruled or the English. And I challenge anybody to show one single period of her national life when India was lacking in spiritual giants capable of moving the world. Even today, we have spiritual giants. Nowhere else in the world you will find. You will find business magnates across the world. Find out whether there are spiritual giants as we have in this land even now. But her work is spiritual, and that cannot be done with blasts of war trumpets or the march of cohorts. Her influence has always fallen upon the world like that of the gentle dew, unheard and scarcely marked, yet bringing into bloom the fairest flowers of the earth. This influence, being in its nature gentle, would have to wait for a fortunate combination of circumstances to go out of the country into other lands, though it never ceased to work within the limits of its native land. Naturally, we have the spiritual treasure, but how do I take it out? There has to be a coming together of some combination of circumstances. As such, every educated person knows that whenever the empire building Tartar or Persian or Greek or Arab brought this land in contact with the outside world, a mass of spiritual influence immediately flooded the world from here. The very same circumstances have presented themselves once more before us. The English high roads over land and sea, and the wonderful power manifested by the inhabitants of that little island, have once more brought India in contact with the rest of the world. And the same work has already begun. And Swamiji was the first to use that road. English laid the roads, and Swamiji said, I will use these roads to go out and spread the spiritual treasure which we have. I quote again, mark my words, this is but the small beginning, big things are to follow. What the result of the present work outside India will be, I cannot exactly state. But this I know for certain, that millions, I say deliberately, millions in every civilized land are waiting for the message that will save them from the hideous abyss of materialism into which modern money worship is driving them headlong. And many of the leaders of the new social movements have already discovered that Vedanta, in its highest form, can alone spiritualize their social aspirations. And we see this happening now in India. How many spiritual gurus, even now, are exerting a very deep, vast influence on the Western world, the whole of the world. Even something like Hatha Yoga, it is now an international event, and even very conservative societies have accepted this. Though they wish to delink it from Hinduism, delinking that from Hinduism will remove much of its significance. It will become just like an exercise. But still, they have, in their own limited way, tried to accept it. And we have this, anyone can see, lakhs of foreigners come to India every year seeking to learn, seeking to benefit from her spiritual treasures. Go to any good organization, you will find lakhs and lakhs of people. They are hungry for the essence of life, which is spirituality. But Swamiji did not just want India to go back to the Upanishads, sit and study all these scriptures. Swamiji says that is a mistake. To impose the highest ideals on the whole society is a mistake, just as it is a mistake to say one faith or one set of dogmas should be accepted by the whole society, the whole world. That will never happen. And that kind of a thinking is the source of all unrest and conflict. Even in a society like India, a society where Swamiji says religion is the backbone, you cannot impose the highest ideals on all people. There will be a large chunk of populace who want to experience this world. Swamiji says if you insist that they should renounce and they should accept the highest ideal, there will be only degradation. In another context, Swamiji says this was the mistake of Buddhism, where it says the only path for salvation is renunciation. And renunciation meant becoming a sannyasi. That is not the idea of Sanatana Dharma. It says whatever may be your state of existence as a brahmacharya ashrama or grihastha ashrama or vanaprastha ashrama, you will have this highest truth open to you because that is inside you. It is only a way of living. It is not what state of life you are in, what kind of thinking you have, and how you discover the truth inside you. That's all that matters. We have never said a householder will never realize truth. India has never said that. Sanatana Dharma has not said that. But there have been interpretations like that. The only way. Yes, Upanishad says, Tyage naike. It's only by renunciation. But renunciation doesn't mean giving up this world, abandoning this world. That's why Swamiji says, that mistake we have done, we should not do it again. Don't first impose these high ideals upon the common people. They will come in their own slow way. Let them do. The highest ideal is not for everyone. But they should at least know what is the highest ideal and they should have that as their ideal too. At one point of time, they will discover it in themselves. What does it mean? It means control of your senses. It means discovering your true nature. How you do, it's left to you. Swamiji wanted this spiritual revival to go hand in hand with material prosperity. Because as Sri Ramakrishna would say, he also would point out, religion is not for empty stomachs. And millions of Indians were starving. And you go and give these spiritual ideas to them. They will say, first give me food. So Swamiji's idea was, he wanted us to learn from the West its system of social organization, its science, its technology. That industry which was bringing food to the poor there, he said, bring it here also. These socio-economic lessons from the West, Swamiji said, if we learn, it will uplift the common masses. It will improve their living standards. Then, when they don't have to struggle for their food the whole day, they will have time. And that time is when they will give their attention for higher thoughts. Sociology also speaks of this. Culture blossoms when man has some leisure. If a society is from morning till evening engaged only, all the members in the society are engaged only in earning their food, earning their livelihood, then where will culture come? Culture requires some time. Deeper thoughts, deeper reflections, it requires some time. There was this arrangement worked out. A group of people will do this morning till evening, working out for the livelihood and for food. And another group of people will sit morning till evening and reflect on the deeper truths and realize those discoveries and share it with those who didn't have time for them. So these different occupations, it became castes. But unfortunately, those who were asked to discover the truths, they preserved the truths for themselves. And they said others don't have right for it. But you were able to pursue that because here was another group of people who labored from morning till evening, sunrise to sunset, to put that food in your plate. So it was your duty to share the truths which you discovered with them. Explain it to them. It is not that this was never done and it was always across like that. But general trend became the other way, that it will not be shared. But repeatedly we had great souls, avatars coming in, great saints, who said, like Buddha said, I will give it to them in their own language. I will give it to them, Chaitanya said, in their own way they can understand, through simple bhajans. All the saints we have seen, those highest spiritual truths, they give it in a way which the common man can understand. So Swamiji points out that in the West, they have social liberty, but religious slavery. Slavery to the dogmas. If you don't accept this, you do not belong to this religion and you will be eternally sent to hell. So there is no freedom in religion. You have to accept it. But in India, we have always had religious freedom. You may be worshipping Shiva, your mother will worship Vishnu, your grandfather will worship nobody. He says, Soham, Soham. Your grandmother says, Divine Mother is the whole power. But it's also possible to live very mutually in a very harmonious way. Your neighbor will worship someone, you will worship someone. And I may worship Shiva, but I will happily go to every other temple, whether it is Vishnu or Kartikeya, Ganesha or Hanuman. Because I know behind it is the same principle I am worshipping. Forms may be different. In religion, we have this freedom. Choose whatever path you want. But in social structure, we got stuck up. We had the social slavery. Now it is not that experienced in cities. In villages, deep villages, probably we still have that. So the challenge that Swamiji poses is this. This is the challenge he is giving all of us. Can you make a European society with India's religion? I believe it is possible and must be. I quote again. Can you make a European society with India's religion? That is the Upanishadic truths. I believe it is possible and must be. It must be done. This is a challenge we all have to take. His call to the nation is in one sentence this. Make a European society with India's religion. Now we find, in fact, European society, slowly they are accepting these spiritual ideas. They are no longer happy. There are so many millions we hear who say we don't belong to any church. We are spiritual. That's all. We don't accept any religion. That is spirituality which India talks. Religion means spirituality. It is not simply accepting someone or some dogma. Because the moment you say that, you say someone else who is not accepting these principles, someone else who is not believing in this, is a non-believer. He has to be converted or killed, or at least pitied, because he will go to hell certainly. Where is your brotherhood of mankind then? Your brotherhood is limited because you are bound by your dogmas. The Upanishads declare the whole universe is one consciousness. That consciousness has manifested as this energy. You and I are one. That is the basis of all ethics. Why should I not hurt you? Why should I not steal? Because you and I are one. Here, there is no question of believing some dogmas or believing in one personality or someone who will save me. It is believe in yourself. As Swamiji says, the old religion said, he is an atheist who does not believe in God. The new religion says, he is an atheist who does not believe in himself. Believing in himself means not in my body or in my mind or in my intellect. Believing in myself means discovering this truth. It begins with this faith. Yes, I am not just this body, mind, ego. I am something more. I begin with this belief and I discover it. It becomes a realization. This is possible for everyone. King to cobbler, the highest class to the lowest class, the highest caste to the lowest caste. That is superficial in the outside society. But in essence, whatever may be your religion, whatever may be your position in society, you and I are essentially one. This has to be discovered. This is the message of Upanishads. Tat Tvam Asi, the Guru tells. You are that. It is not just for one person, it is for the whole mankind. You are that. Discover that. You are that consciousness. You are that consciousness which you worship as God. When the disciple goes inside, he discovers it and he says, Aham Brahmasmi. This is the Upanishadic statement. I am that consciousness. I have discovered. And when he discovers his true identity, he also simultaneously realizes his oneness with the whole universe. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. The whole universe is really nothing but one consciousness, which I call Brahman. And in this awareness of oneness, it is a perception, it is an experience of oneness. From that comes love. From that comes service. So the call of Vivekananda is this. Discover yourself. At least first start reading, reflecting, and then try to explore. In our classes, without going into the scriptural quotes, we have actually taken the same thoughts that Swamiji gives. Discover who you are. We have focused more on the practical aspect of it. I am trapped in my thoughts. Detach. Discover who you are. Repeatedly detach yourself. And then have an ideal, as Swamiji says, have an ideal. And now, for the society as a whole, the ideal Swamiji gives European society with India's religion. So in European society, this spiritual flow has already given a strong impact. Go across Europe and America, you will see so many different ways, so many names, but the source you see, it will be in India. Whether it is Kriya Yoga or Bhakti or Bhajan or whatever you call it, the source will be in India. Even if it comes to some other country, you trace it back slowly, you will find it is in India. And now in our country, we are getting this. We have democracy, we have other systems coming in, but we also have problems, corruption, to speak one. But it will change. It will change for the good, and we should always be positive. So my role as an Indian is to accept this, that whatever I work out will be based on my spirituality. If we say religion, we have a problem now because we have people with different faiths. Faiths which believe right or wrong. Their faith is true. They believe this is the only true faith. So when you have someone having that faith, that belief that what I have, this faith is the only true faith, or at least this is better than others, then when you have people like that, when you talk about religion is the backbone of India, we should keep in mind it is not just Hinduism, it is spirituality. The differences in religion are in practices, in dogmas. But Swamiji says religion is not dogmas. You go deep into any prophet's message, it is not dogmas. It is love for God that is the center of any religion. Take Islam, take Christianity, take any religion, Judaism. The central foundation pillar is love God. In that, there is oneness of mankind. Because we forget this central teaching, principle, life force, and we concentrate at all the peripheries, how you dress, what you eat. Religion becomes, what is my food? Food is not religion. What you eat is your choice. Where you are and what your culture is, that is left to you. Loving God is the main point. In that we can find unity. And when Swamiji says religion is the backbone, religion here is that faith. Faith in God is also faith in myself as the Atman. In this faith, rooted in this faith, we have to work out all other solutions. Swamiji says, discover yourself and everything else will be harmoniously arranged around you. Discover yourself means discover your true nature. That is not just for me as an individual, but also for the whole society. And Indian society has always had this as its ideal. Whatever else it may have done, it has never forgotten that the true essence of life is spirituality. They may speak without knowing what it is, but at least they have it in their consciousness somewhere that everything is finally Nashwar. You may be the biggest man, richest man, but finally it doesn't matter. Have you discovered yourself? That is the highest ideal India has posed before its citizens and also before the world. Have you discovered yourself? Before you die, discover yourself. You may discover anything in the world outside, but if you die ignorant of your true nature, then you have probably not used your life in the correct way. This is the challenge which we have. We may be pursuing any kind of subject research, or we may be doing any work, we may be in any station of life. Always, the goal is uplift yourself, raise your level of consciousness. Never be trapped in body, mind, senses, and ego. It will be, but struggle, struggle, struggle to raise above it and discover that inner truth in which lies real peace, true bliss, and love, which is what we call spirituality. And in that spirituality, we have unification of the whole world. Without that, if anyone believes my religion in one day dominate the whole world, I will convert everyone to my religion. That will never happen. And that has only shed blood on this earth. Every time someone has said the other people should follow my faith, there has only been bloodshed. If we can grow out of that mindset, because there is other evil of materialism, where they say everyone will be enjoying themselves. How do you enjoy? At the expense of someone. So to overcome that and this fundamentalistic thinking, we have to discover the common element, and that common element in all religions is this love for God. A lover of God can never hate a fellow human being. He can never hate any living being for that matter. So if we discover this love for God, then we will have the answer for all our problems. We will be able to make a European society with India's religion. This is the challenge Swamiji has given us. Please let us reflect on this. We have to take up one idea and reflect. To reflect is, in the sense, think what does it mean? If everything is explained and everything is given as in your note guidebooks, then there is no action, no inspiration possible in me. You explain everything to me. I will not be inspired to act, because that final cooking part has to be done by me. It has to be worked out by me. You cook everything and feed me. I may become fat, but spiritually, I will not transform. Sri Ramakrishna made all his direct disciples work very hard, struggle hard in their sadhana. He would help them also, but he would make them struggle. Later, the second, third generation, those who were disciples of these direct disciples, one of them once asked Brahmananji, the direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda's schoolmate also, and the first president of the Ramakrishna order. He asked him, in your turn, Sri Ramakrishna did so much for you. He helped you. But when our turn now comes, you are not helping us. Then Brahmananji says, no, it is not so. I can give you the experience, that experience which you are now hankering for, the samadhi or whatever it is, but you will not be able to hold on to it because you have not earned it. Unless you earn it, it will not be yours. So how do you earn it? By your own self-effort. That self-effort will bring grace. So self-effort is first. Now, to understand Vivekananda, each of us, we have to struggle on our own. Take up one idea, just one idea. So he says, if religion is held on in its true essence, as we find it in the Upanishads, not as it is interpreted, this is the only God, or he is the supreme God, not those things. Again, it has come down to that. There are people who believe this is the supremest God, all other gods are small. So the moment you say that, you have gone away from the Upanishads. Swamiji says, repeatedly says, I have never told anything other than the Upanishads. Go back to the Upanishads. That was the best essence we had. Interpretations came, and some interpretations brought about a narrow thinking. And that narrow thinking slowly led to hating fellow human beings, because you don't think like me. You don't worship my God. I dislike you. So that has to go out. India is going towards it, and the whole world is slowly going towards it. Though outwardly it may look like there is so much of violence and this country is trying expansionism and other things, historians will tell us we are in a very peaceful time. That is very strange, but they tell us in human history probably we are passing through a very peaceful stage. There was so much violence earlier, but we don't know it because there were no TVs, no radio, newspapers. But now it is all that newspaper, radio, TV telling us so much violence, but still we know it is not as it was earlier. There is a gradual progress in spiritual uh, consciousness in the whole world. It will take time. But as people who are interested in awakening and awakening our fellow beings, we should take up one idea, two ideas, and work them out. We have taken enough ideas in these classes. It is the working out that matters. If we don't work out even one or two ideas, we may by heart the whole complete works and will not be transformed and will not be able to make any impact, the kind of change that Swamiji wanted. Can you make a European society with India's religion? Combining this both without going into materialism, without going into sentimentalism, superstition, keeping the best of these thoughts. Yes, I will be very spiritual, but I will not be impractical. That is a combination Swamiji wanted from his monastic devotee disciples. Second time when he was going to America, in Belumat, there is a farewell and he is speaking and he says, I want immense idealism with immense practicality. This combination I want. You cannot say I'll be idealistic and become impractical. You cannot say I'll be very practical, forget all ideals and idealism. He says this combination, this struggle for attaining this combination is life. And in that is joy. And we discover in this struggle all our inner potentials manifesting. Let us do that. This is a very sacred day, Guru Purnima. It is a tradition in our land where we respect the parampara, Guru Parampara. We may not belong to a Guru Parampara, but still we are beneficiaries of this flow of knowledge. Whatever we know today, it has been acquired and passed on to us by our previous generation. It will be through our parents, through our teachers, our relatives, our neighbors, our society. We know knowledge is power, and we in India also know knowledge is sacred. That's why anyone who teaches me something becomes a guru figure for me. You see a motorcycle mechanic, he will tell the man who taught him, he will recognize him and respect him as my guru. He taught me how to repair the motorbike. You say, hey, no, guru is a Swami. It is not like that. There are two streams of knowledge. We have discussed this earlier. Paravidya, aparavidya. Paravidya is knowledge of your divinity, Atmagnana. Aparavidya is knowledge of this manifest universe. We need both the knowledge. And anyone who teaches me that stands as my guru. In practice, there will be one guru who will be recognized as a spiritual guru because the highest knowledge is spirituality, and the highest purpose of life is that discovering oneself, which is called spirituality. That process is called spirituality. There will be other dimensions where I'll learn this, I will learn how to do that, I'll acquire this knowledge. These are all upagurus. But that guru is whom we respect and offer our highest shraddha. The other gurus also are respected because they taught me something. They made me a better human being. Today is the day. It is Vyasa Maharishi who is recognized today. It is supposed to be his birthday. So Vyasa Purnima also it is called. We worship him because he classified the Vedas. It was all scattered and probably organized. He organized it into 4 Vedas. He is also credited as the author of the Puranas, 18 Puranas, and the Mahabharata. We don't know exactly whether it is one person or more than one person. But that is the personality which we have selected today to recognize the Guru Shakti working. That Guru Shakti will always work in India. It has been and it will be. Only we have to open ourselves for it. I stop there. If you have any questions, please ask. I'll try to answer them. I think I have taken more time than we have in 15. We also are, as part of our special lecture series, we probably will be having one special lecture mid of this month. We'll announce it in the next week. We have a very great singer, a national award-winning singer, who will probably give a special talk on Carnatic music. That announcement will be done next week. Thank you. If you have any questions, please mail it. There is a doc there. I will answer. I have received some questions. Maybe towards the end of this month, we will have separate video clips coming out in answer to those questions. Thank you very much. Please reflect on these ideas. Can we make a European society with India's religion? And how do we understand our own spiritual heritage? Thank you. Sri Ramakrishna Arpana.